Esther, rewrite your narrative. But when I look to the bookshelf of the ones that came before me for inspiration, it is empty. Void of creativity with the lineage of assimilation scattered in its place, God, how can it be easy? When my narrative always started with an A. A lineage, a culture, a fight all running through my veins. Sovincet, all running through my veins. But the blood that runs, it runs thinner and thinner. The disconnect runs deeper and deeper. My mother tongue, Yoruba, cries in pain as the youth of the Nigerian dysphoria slowly picks away at her legacy. Ejo Shanumi. But my tongue fights back against every sound, every syllable. Yoruba, once a proud reminder of the struggles of my ancestors, now struggles with my airways every time that I speak. Yoruba, once something that united us, now puts us into social hierarchies, languages, once an ancestral gift, now foreign contraband that we discard at the shores of Aotearoa to fit in. God, how can it be easy when my narrative always started with an A contradiction? Because I am told in the white man's land there is opportunity. It's a land filled with milk and honey. But when I look across the shores to my motherland, I see success that runs deep. No, I see success that runs deep in the minds of the youth. Success covered with ignorance, with no past examples. Because when we look to the bookshelf of the ones that came before us for inspiration, it is empty. Void of creativity with the lineage of assimilation scattered in its place. So don't be shocked when I'm told to define success and I read assimilation. When my parents, my grandparents, my forefathers all read the beginning of my narrative, assimilation. Because our narratives always started with an A. A irrational fear of failure, my forefathers' fear of going back. Because when we all moved out of the motherlands in hopes of better opportunity, we began to use our skills and talents, education to better the white man's economy. My parents, our parents, not daring to return to the country that raised us. But it's financial gain all there is to us. We don't talk about our skills, talents, creativity that could change us, our differences that could change us. We read assimilation, we infer opportunity. God, it changed us. You say, Esther, rewrite your narrative. Esther, rewrite your narrative. But how can it be easy when my narrative began with a survival mentality? Defined as a way of living based on survival and not passion. Defined as being pushed into jobs and degrees based on survival and not passion. A mentality fueled with assimilation, laced with unrealistic expectations. A mentality infecting each generation with all of us reading the same assimilated narrative. So don't be shocked when I'm told to define success and I think it's linear. When I think that being a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer is the only way that I can survive, because that is what the books on my bookshelf tell me, that is what the ones that came before me show me. A mentality that is highly contagious, because through your words and actions it can begin to influence those around you. I remember a few years ago, my little sister told me that she wanted to be a firefighter. I remember sitting her down and saying, "What's the point? You won't make any money." My ignorant statement was a clear example of how the survival mentality had influenced not just what I believed success was, but what I believed life ought to be. My ignorant statement was a clear example of how the survival mentality has influenced not just what I believed success was, but what I believed life ought to be. And when we become complacent to this definition and this idea of success, we are left breeding a generation that's not fulfilling its full potential. Why? Because being a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer is not the only way to succeed. But how do you expect us to think differently when that's all that the books on our bookshelves tell us, that is all that the ones that came before us show us? With not enough minority representation in the places of the creatives, with not enough Chiamanas, with not enough Israels, how do you not expect me to think that success is not linear? I look back to that story with me and my little sister, and I realize the true dangers of this mentality. It is breeding a generation that is scared. Frightened by their creativity, frozen by the overwhelming pressure to live up to the dreams of their parents. A generation that is scared to envision where they want to be in the next 10 years because their dreams and the dreams of their parents have become so intertwined that they don't know what the answer is. So I'm told to rewrite my narrative, but how can it be easy, Lord? How can it be easy? It is easy when you realize that ignorance is not bliss. Not being able to re-envision where you want to be in the next 10 years, only going to university to please your parents, not redefining your definition of success, not breaking generational fears, it's not bliss. I remember a few years ago, ignore the backtrack, but I remember a few years ago, we were allowed to pick up an extra subject to learn in school. And I remember picking spoken word poetry. Because having a father as an engineer and a mum as a nurse, I never saw people succeed in the places of the creatives. And I remember when my teacher presented her first poem, it changed me. Because it was in that moment that I realized that success doesn't have to be linear. Success could be fulfillment, and success is happiness. I look at my past and I look at this generation, and I wonder why the survival mentality continues to remain. And it's simple. Many of us continue to be ignorant. Many of us continue to play the victim card for the unhappiness in the words of our own story. We blame our parents, the color of our skin, our social class. We continue to blame everyone else but ourselves. But when will we stop blaming the books on the bookshelf? When will we stop blaming the ones before us? And when will we stop blaming the person in the mirror for not teaching themselves anything differently? I look at myself and I look at the people in this crowd. And with information at the tips of our fingers, we cannot afford to be ignorant. I look at my little sister, I look at the next generation. And with them eagerly waiting for books on the bookshelf full of differences, void of assimilation, we cannot afford to be ignorant. So don't be shocked when I'm told to define success and I read ownership. I read responsibility and I read change. Esther, rewrite your narrative. But God, how can it be easy? It is easy when you get rid of the survival mentality.